What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to The Breakdown. This is a series where I analyze subscriber gameplay to help you improve. In today's episode, we're going to be analyzing a team deathmatch gameplay on the map Frost from Joyful Snake Eyes. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so as always, we're going to have a look at the class that he decided to use. As you can see, we're using the K-Bar with a foregrip, quick draw, as well as extended mags. Those attachments are all pretty solid on the K-Bar. Now, some people will argue that foregrip is useless in this game. It still gives you a 7% reduction to your view kick, which with a gun like the K-Bar that has a lot of recoil, that can be relatively noticeable in game, and I would say it's not a bad choice. As for quick draw, excellent choice on assault rifles all the time, and extended mags never hurts. For perks, we've got Dexterity, Ghost, Scavenger, and Hardwired. All of these are great perks, and really, this class is great. There's not too much to say about it other than great class. Now, some people might argue, why are you running Ghost without a suppressor? And I think there's definitely an argument for showing up on the radar when you want to show up on the radar, and having full control over that. If you're really confident in your gun skill, this can be a really valuable playstyle to have, especially in Team Deathmatch, where things tend to get a little bit slow sometimes. If you show up on the radar, but only when you want to show up on the radar, you can draw enemies in towards you. And as long as you're confident in handling those guys as they come at you, you can get a lot more kills with this playstyle. So sometimes using Ghost with an unsilenced gun is a good strategy. So getting into the gameplay now, I just want to make a really general statement about this gameplay for you guys to pay attention to as we're going through this. Throughout the entire gameplay, he keeps his boots on the ground most of the time. There's very little boost jumping mixed in here, maybe the odd like mini boost jump or something like that, and I think he only uses wall runs maybe twice or something along those lines, and yet he's still quite successful in this gameplay. So this really goes to show that boost jumping and wall running and all that kind of stuff is not necessary to be successful in this game. You can still be successful with your boots on the ground. Now, a big thing you'll notice throughout this gameplay as well is how he's pre-aiming everything. Anytime he comes around a corner, he's always pre-aiming. He's always pre-aiming. Even when there's no enemy there, he's always pre-aiming. And this actually helps him so much in a lot of gunfights, because when there is an enemy around that corner, he's snapping on a target like instantly, and he's getting the jump on them almost every single time. So right here is the first little specific situation I wanted to point out. These Seeker grenades are a lot easier to counter than he makes it look. He kind of panicked a little bit when he saw this Seeker grenade chasing him here. And really, they're so easy to counter. All you have to do is let it get close to you, it'll change the tone of its beeping, and then that's when you jump out of the way. Once that tone changes, once you hear this noise right here, that means the Seeker grenade has planted itself in position, and at that point you just jump out of the way or slide out of the way, just get out of the way. He wasted his FTL jump unnecessarily there, and it actually would have been very useful in this situation coming up right here. As he comes over to the cliff side of the map here, he checks nicely, and he takes a little bit of damage. He gets some cover, which is excellent. He managed to get some cover, but then he tried to challenge the guy while he was still hurt, and while he didn't have any sort of cover. Now, he did pre-aim to try and maximize his odds there, but he came around that corner quite slowly as well, and the enemy only needed to pop 1 or 2 more bullets into him to get the kill. So the chances of him being able to shoot his 4 shots that he needs to kill his enemy before his enemy can shoot 2 shots is slim to none. This is why he should have either waited behind cover until he was healed up fully, or if he wouldn't have wasted his FTL jump earlier, he could have used it in that situation, FTL jump behind the enemy, and then shot him in the back and taken him off guard. Unfortunately, he just made the wrong move. Now, skipping ahead a little bit into the gameplay, I just want to point out him coming around this corner right here. It was a little bit sloppy the way he handled that. I think it's pretty obvious to most people what he should have done there. As he comes around, he should have looked up to the really common camper spot right up top first, and then swept around and checked the second area where the other enemy was. I think he realized this pretty quickly, and I really like that he backed away from that situation once he realized his mistake. A lot of people would have just tried to commit to that one kill, and they would have gotten themselves killed. He knows when it's time to back off, and I like that he did that. Skipping ahead just a little bit again, he takes a little bit of damage from behind as he comes around this corner, and I love that he used FTL jump here. That was a perfect use of FTL jump in an aggressive fashion. He knew what the enemy was going to do, the enemy was very predictable and chased him, and he made a very unpredictable move of not only challenging, but also using FTL jump to get behind him. That enemy didn't have time to react, and therefore he was able to pick up the kill on him. I also really like what he's doing in this situation here. He's kind of standing his ground, keeping his head on a swivel, and he's picking all these enemies off with his pure gun skill, which is excellent. But I also like that After a little while, he realizes he's kind of overstaying his welcome there, especially with an unsilenced gun. He got quite a few kills, and it's just time to get out of that situation. A lot of people would have stood their ground even longer, and they wouldn't have lasted very long because he's killed like more than half of the enemy team. They're going to be coming back for revenge if he stays there. So it was a good move to get out of there when he did. Now, right after this kill here, you can see a sudden shift in his playstyle. I can tell the exact moment where he looked and saw that he was two and a bit kills off of a warden. And this is something I don't normally recommend doing. If you're a relatively aggressive player and you're really successful with it, once you realize you get close to a streak, don't drastically change your playstyle like this. You got to keep up that same sort of momentum because that's what's working for you. Don't switch it up and start playing suddenly defensively because you're not going to be in that more defensive sort of mindset. You're going to kind of cool off a little bit as well. You're going to lose a little bit of that adrenaline that you had when you were playing aggressively. And also it appeared he got into his own head a bit, and he ended up choking that warden. I think if he wouldn't have even noticed that he was close to the warden, he would have gotten that warden no problem. But because he recognized that and changed up his playstyle, he ended up choking it. Skipping ahead a little bit again, he picks up a nice double kill here, which is excellent. And then he starts moving on here, and he's kind of towards the enemy's flank, which is great. But as soon as he sees his enemy, he tries to take a shot at him with an unsilenced gun. And it was clear that he wasn't going to have time to actually finish that kill on the guy. That's a situation where he would have been much better off just letting that guy go, letting his teammates deal with him, and staying off the radar. Now, it did end up working out for him pretty much just fine, but if he had enemies that were a little bit more aware, there's no way he would have survived that situation. Skipping ahead just one last time here, as he approaches this, I like that he ended up going for the flank on the wall run, but what I don't like is right here, if you pause it, it's pretty clear that those enemies would have seen him jump onto the wall run, and therefore, as he's coming around this corner, he should have been pre-aiming that spot, expecting the enemy to challenge him. Even the first time I watched this gameplay through, I was like face-palming a little bit, because it was pretty clear that a guy was going to be challenging, and he wasn't ready for him as he wall ran around that corner. Now, it's a relatively minor thing, but just something to think about for the future. So overall, he ended up having a very solid game, he carried his team to victory, and it was excellent. I think it's a great example of not needing to use the boost jumping and jump shotting and gunfights and stuff to be effective in this game. You can keep those boots on the ground and you can still be successful. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Breakdown. If you guys have a gameplay that you'd like to submit for a future episode of The Breakdown, all you have to do is send a link to a raw gameplay that's at least 720p in quality. Send that to the email address in the description below. Keep in mind that I'm looking for more like average-ish sort of gameplays. Maybe a bit above average, a bit below average, somewhere around there. I asked for this last time, and literally the first 6 submissions that I got were all either nuke gameplays or like 30 plus KD gameplays. I'm not looking for any more of those throughout this series at this point. I've already got way more than I need for the entire year because everybody seems to just want to be uploading their best gameplay ever for it, and that's not usually going to be the best sort of gameplays to analyze in this series. So please, if you could, try to keep the gameplay somewhere in the realm of average, something that's relatable for most players. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.